In medieval Western Europe, fog shrouded the wilder moor all year round, and Blackwood Castle on the edge of the wasteland stood for thousands of years, like a giant beast lurking in the dark night. The owner of the castle, Karen Valories, is the last Duke of the Valories vampire race and the most feared presence in the entire world of Western Europe in the night. He has lived through 13 centuries, witnessed the change of dynasties and the collapse of ethnic groups, and his cold blood has long been worn away by time, and only the occasional scarlet flash in the depths of his eyes shows his innate bloodthirsty instinct and desire for power. Cullen's clan was once the overlord of the Dark Night world, but it was tragically surrounded and suppressed in the Battle of Holy Silver 300 years ago, and the clan was almost wiped out, leaving him and a few loyal descendants hiding in Blackwood Castle. In order to rebuild the race and break the bloodline confinement set by the Holy See, Cullen has been looking for humans with the legendary Starfall blood. This special bloodline can purify the manic factor in the vampire's body, and even help it break through the shackles of eternal life. At the cost of the bloodline holder will become the vampire's destiny container, sharing life and power, and also sharing the fate of sinking. The rain in late autumn is dripping, knocking on the stone windows of the castle. Karen sat in a high-backed chair in his study, his fingertips rubbing an ancient silver coat of arms engraved with tangled thorns and bats, symbols of the Valories race. Bull, a descendant standing below, bowed his head and reported, "Duke, the demon hunting team under the Holy See has been active in the wasteland recently, and it seems that they are searching for humans with special bloodlines. In addition, we found out that in the small town of Wayne, 100 miles away from the castle, there was a girl named Isabella White, whose blood fluctuations were highly consistent with the blood of Starfall recorded in ancient books." Karen's fingertips paused suddenly, and her scarlet eyes swept over a faint wave, as fast as an illusion. Starfall blood. His voice was low and hoarse, with vicissitudes that spanned thousands of years. 300 years, it finally appeared. When he got up, the dark robe swept across the ground without making the slightest sound, and his figure instantly appeared at the door of the study. "Get ready for the car, go to Wayne Town." The town of Wayne is nestled at the junction of moors and forests, and is a little lively because of the caravan that comes and goes all year round, but also because of its proximity to Blackwood Castle. There is always a hint of fear. Isabella is 18 years old and the only daughter of Mr. White, a small-town doctor. She had long light blonde hair, clear light blue eyes, and almost transparent skin, which was very different from other and girls in the town. Isabella knew from an early age that she was different from others. She is not afraid of the cold. Her wounds heal far faster than ordinary people, and she can even see clearly in the dark, and even strangely, on the night of the full moon. A faint star-like mark will appear on her neck, accompanied by a slight burning sensation. Her father, Mr. White, was always secretive about this, only telling her not to show anything unusual in front of strangers, let alone go near Blackwood Castle. That evening, when the rain stopped, Isabella went to the edge of the town with a medicine basket to visit an old woman who lived alone. As soon as he walked out of the town, he noticed that there were two cold eyes locked on him behind him. She turned around and saw two men in black cloaks, their eyes peeking out of an eerie gray-blue with bloodthirsty smiles on their lips. Low-level vampires who usually roam outside the clan and feed on human blood for a living. Isabella's heart tightened. She turned around and ran towards the town, but was instantly blocked by one of the vampires. "What pure blood!" The vampire stretched out his thin hand and brushed his fingertips across her cheek. "Enough to get us a promotion." The other vampire circled behind her, blocking the way out, and its sharp fangs were already revealed. Just when Isabella thought she was sure to die, a dark figure appeared between the two like a ghost. Karen didn't even make any extra moves, just raised his hand and waved his hand, and the two low-level vampires seemed to be torn apart by an invisible force, turning into black powder all over the sky, dissipating into the air. The strong smell of blood mixed with the cold breath unique to vampires hit her face, and Isabella's legs went weak and she almost fell. Karen turned around and looked at her condescendingly. The girl curled up on the ground. Her long light golden hair was blown away by the wind, and her light blue eyes were full of fear, but she did not flinch in the slightest, like a daisy growing stubbornly in the cold wind. His gaze fell on her neck, where it was a faint red from running, and a faint star-like mark loomed. Yes, it was the blood of the Starfall. Who are you? Isabella held back her fear, her voice trembling slightly. But she still raised her head and looked directly at him. The man in front of him was almost monstrous, with long silver-gray hair scattered on his shoulders, and his facial features were deep and three-dimensional, like God's most perfect masterpiece. But those scarlet eyes were golden piercing, making her feel cold. Karen Valoris. He reported his name and looked at the shock that flashed in the girl's eyes, obviously having heard the name. Come with me. Karen's tone was unquestionable, and she reached out to pull her, but Isabella dodged her suddenly. You are the vampire duke. Isabella took a few steps back and clenched the medicine basket in her hand. I won't go with you. My father said that you are a demon. Karen's eyes did not fluctuate in the slightest, as if the name demon had long been accustomed to him. Stay in the town, and the demon hunting team and low-level vampires will come to you. He stated the facts in a flat tone. Only I can protect you. As soon as the words fell, there was the sound of horses' hooves in the distance. It was the people of the demon hunting team, and the holy silver swords on their waists reflected the cold light and were rushing in this direction. Karen no longer gave her a chance to refuse, leaning over and picking her up. Isabella exclaimed, trying to struggle, but was tightly imprisoned by his cold arms, unable to move. Karen was astonishingly fast, disappearing into the depths of the forest in an instant, leaving only the members of the demon hunting team to look around in a daze. When she opened her eyes again, Isabella was already in the bedroom of Blackwood Castle. The room was luxuriously furnished, but it was cold everywhere. The walls were art gray marble. The windows were covered by heavy velvet curtains. There was no light. Only a few wall lamps emitted a faint warm light. She struggled to sit up from her big soft bed and found her medicine basket and coat neatly set aside. The door was pushed open and Karen walked in, holding a glass of red liquid in her hand. Drink it. He handed the cup to her. Isabella subconsciously stepped back, looking at the glass of liquid vigilantly. What is this? Goat blood is harmless to you. Karen knew what she was worried about. Your blood is special, and human food cannot fully nourish you, which can temporarily stabilize your body. Isabella was skeptical, but she still didn't take the cup. She could feel that the man in front of her had no ill intentions towards her, but her vampire status made her unable to let her guard down. Karen didn't force it, and put the cup on the low cabinet at the head of the bed. In the castle, you can move freely, but don't go near the dungeon in the West Tower, he advised. The demon hunting squad will not give up easily. You must stay here until I get rid of them. After saying that, he turned around and prepared to leave. Why are you helping me? Isabella asked suddenly. Karen paused and did not look back. Because your blood is useful to me. He did not hide his purpose. Instead of making up lies, it was better to be honest after all. Sooner or later they would have to establish a blood connection. Over the next few days, Isabella gradually adapted to life in the castle. Ebul and several other descendants treated her with great respect, but kept their distance, and only Karen occasionally appeared in front of her, sometimes walking with her in the castle's gardens only at dusk. Vampires could not withstand direct sunlight, and sometimes bringing her books from the town. She discovered that Karen was not as brutal and bloodthirsty as the legend suggests. He likes to sit on a bench in the garden, watching the sunset. His eyes empty and lonely. He is proficient in rhythm and can add tunes on an old piano. He knows the history and culture of mankind well, and can always explain those little-known allusions to her when she reads. Once, Isabella found an ancient book about the Valoris tribe in her study, which recorded the truth of the Battle of the Holy Silver. It was not the tribe that took the initiative to provoke the war, but the Holy See coveted the immortal power of vampires and united with other tribes to set traps, which led to the destruction of the Valoris tribe. She looked at the yellowed illustrations on the pages, in which the young Karen held a long sword. His eyes were sharp, surrounded by relatives and partners of the same clan, and he was like a lonely man now. You see it all. Karen's voice came from behind her. Isabella turned around and saw him standing in the doorway with complicated eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to peek. She quickly closed the book and apologized in a low voice. Karen walked up to her, picked up the ancient book, and gently brushed the figure on the illustration with her fingertips. Her tone with unconcealable pain. This was 300 years ago. My parents, brother and lover all died in that war. This was the first time he showed his vulnerability. Thousands of years of loneliness and pain in front of Isabella, and at this moment he seemed to have found an outlet for catharsis. Isabella looked at his red eyes, her heart softened, and she subconsciously reached out to hold his hand. Karen's hand was cold and piercing, but the moment she held it, she trembled slightly. "I'm sorry," she said softly, her lake blue eyes full of pity and tenderness. That night they talked for a long time. Karen told her that eternal life is not a gift, but a curse, watching the people around her leave one by one. But she can only remain alone in this world. Endless loneliness. Isabella also told him about her past, about her father's protection of her, about life in the town, and about her confusion about her bloodline. Karen told her that Starfall blood is a descendant of mixed humans and vampires in ancient times, and it is extremely rare, with only one person appearing every 100 years. This bloodline can not only suppress the mania of vampires, but also allow humans to gain immortality. But if you want to fully activate the power of the bloodline, you must establish a blood contract with the vampire. The two sides exchange a drop of an adolescent's blood, and from then on, life and death will be shared, and the blood will be connected. After establishing the blood pact, I will gain strength and rebuild the race, and you will become my duchess and have the same lifespan as me. Karen looked into her eyes and said seriously, "But I won't force you. You can choose to refuse, and when the demon hunting squad is solved, I will send you back to the town, erase your memory, and let you live the life of an ordinary person." Isabella was silent. She knew that returning to the town meant a stable life, but she also knew that she had already been moved by this lonely vampire duke. His coldness, his vulnerability, and his gentleness all attracted her deeply. What's more, Starfall blood is her innate destiny, and she can't escape it. At this moment, there was a sudden loud noise from the castle, accompanied by the roar of the descendants. Karen's face changed, and he took Isabella's hand. "The demon hunting squad has attacked, and they have brought the holy silver cannon." He protected her behind him, and his figure disappeared into the study in an instant, running towards the castle gate. In the castle hall, Ebul is leading his descendants into a fierce battle with the demon hunting team. The demon hunting team was numerous, and the holy silver weapons in their hands had fatal damage to the vampires, and several descendants had fallen to the ground, dying. The leader of the demon hunting captain was a white-haired old man holding a holy silver longsword in his hand, and his eyes were as sharp as eagles. "Karen, hand over that bloodline holder. I can spare you from death." Wishful thinking. Karen protected Isabella at the corner of the stairs and instructed, "Stay here, don't come out." After saying that, he rushed forward with a long sword in his hand. His strength far exceeded that of ordinary vampires, and the holy silver longsword danced in his hands with a cold light, and the members of the demon hunting team fell to the ground. But the strength of the demon hunter captain should not be underestimated, and the two fought fiercely together, and it was difficult to distinguish between victory and defeat for a while. In between Cullen's struggle with the demon hunter captain, a demon hunter went around the corner of the stairs and saw Isabella hiding there. A hint of ecstasy flashed in his eyes, and he raised the holy silver dagger in his hand and stabbed at her. Isabella didn't have time to dodge, so she could only close her eyes. The expected pain didn't come. She opened her eyes and saw Karen standing in front of her, the holy silver dagger stabbing into his back. Scarlet blood oozes from the wound, and Karen snorts, turning around and waving the demon hunter away. "I said I would protect you." He turned around, his face pale, but his eyes were still gentle, and he reached out to touch her cheek. "Karen." Isabella cried bitterly and reached out to hug him, tears soaking his dark robe. She could feel his strength draining rapidly, and his cold body gradually became colder. The demon hunter captain took the opportunity to rush up, raised his holy silver longsword and slashed at Karen's head. "Don't." Isabella slammed in front of Karen, and the star-shaped mark on her neck suddenly glowed, and a golden light enveloped the entire hall. The holy silver longsword in the hands of the demon hunter was burned by the light, and it instantly came out of his hand. The Starfall blood was completely activated, and Isabella could feel a powerful force surging in her body. She turned around and looked at the weak Karen, and without hesitation, she bit her fingertips and dripped a drop of golden essence into his mouth. "I am willing to establish a blood pact with you," she said softly, her lake blue eyes full of determination. Karen was stunned, then reacted, bit her fingertips and dripped a drop of scarlet blood into her mouth. The moment the essence and blood entered the body, the two felt a strong bond at the same time. The blood blended in each other's bodies, and the power was transmitted to each other. The wounds on Karen's back healed at a speed visible to the naked eye, and her pale face gradually returned to rosy, even stronger than before. And Isabella also felt that her senses had become sharper, and her body was full of strength. Seeing this, the demon-hunting captain's face changed drastically, and he turned around and wanted to escape, but was instantly blocked by Karen. It's time to pay off the debt from 300 years ago. Karen's eyes were cold and piercing, and the long sword in his hand condensed a strong dark power, and one sword pierced the heart of the demon hunter captain. Seeing this, the remaining demon hunters were so frightened that they fled in all directions, but they were dealt with one by Karen and the descendants of the restored power. After the battle, the hall was in disarray. Isabella snuggled up in Karen's arms. Feeling his warm embrace, Karen's body could feel the temperature after the blood pact was established, and a reassuring smile appeared on her face. In the future, we will never be separated again. Karen lowered her head and imprinted a soft kiss on her forehead, her tone full of cherishment. A few days later, a grand ceremony was held at Blackwood Castle, where Cullen officially canonized Isabella as Duchess of Valories. All the races of the night world sent messengers to congratulate them, knowing that with the activation of Starfall blood and the establishment of the Blood Pact, the Valories race would rise again, and Karen and Isabella would also become new legends in the night world. At dusk, Isabella leaned on Karen's shoulder and sat on a garden bench, watching the afterglow of the setting sunshine on the castle's towers. "Do you regret it?" Karen asked softly. "Give up your human life and stay with me in this dark world." Isabella shook her head, held his hand, and smiled gently and brightly. "No regrets. Because you are here, darkness can also turn into light." Karen lowered his head and kissed her lips. Thousands of years of loneliness disappeared at this moment, leaving only each other's temperature and bonds, which would never dissipate in the long years of eternal life. Since then, the Valories tribe, led by Karen and Isabella, has quickly regained their vitality, not only rebuilding their former glory, but also establishing a delicate balance with humans, no longer sucking human blood at will but living on animal blood and special nutrient solutions. Isabella used her medical skills and the power of Starfall's blood to treat many injured vampires and humans, earning the respect of both sides. Occasionally, Isabella would take Karen back to the town of Vane to visit her elderly father. Mr. White looked at his daughter's happy appearance and finally let go of his worries and accepted Karen, the vampire's son-in-law. The people in the town have gradually let go of their fear of vampires, and occasionally see a pair of handsome men and beautiful women walking on the streets of the town. The man's eyes look at the woman around him gently, and the woman's face is full of happy smiles, which has become a unique scenery in the town. The years of eternal life are long and boring, but as long as we are with each other, we are no longer alone. The love between Karen and Isabella is like a rose blooming in the dark night, taking root in the thorns and blood, and finally blooming with the hottest and most moving light, crossing races time, and becoming eternal. The rise of the Valories race touched the interests of the other two major forces in the dark world of Western Europe, the brutal No-Feller race and the tricky Ritter race. 300 years ago, in the Battle of the Holy Silver, these two races colluded with the Holy See to divide Valories' territory and treasures, but now they are afraid of Cullen's strength and Isabella's Starfall blood, and secretly ally to strangle it in the cradle. Late at night, the vigilant barrier of Blackwood Castle was triggered, and DBUL hurriedly reported Duke Lay and the No-Feller tribe have attacked the outer stronghold. 3 descendants have been injured, animal blood reserves have been damaged, and they have left a mark of provocation. Karen's fingertips tapped on the table, and her scarlet eyes surged with chills. The old accounts from 300 years ago should be settled. Isabella held his hand and analyzed. They are testing their strength, especially the power of Starfall blood. I can control the power of the bloodline. I don't have to hide behind me. I can advance and retreat with the clan. Although Karen was worried, he recognized her determination and immediately ordered the reinforcement of the barrier, the inspection of the stronghold, and the probe of the movements of the two Ritter tribe. 3 days later, Patriarch Toledo sent envoys to invite the 3 parties to talk in the Bloody Wasteland, claiming to resolve the conflict. Ebla bluntly said it was a trap, but Karen decided to go to the appointment. If you can find out the trump card, if the other party attacks, you will pacify the two major groups in one fell swoop and never have future troubles. On the day of the talks, the wind raged in the bloody wasteland. The No-Fel clan chief was burly and fierce, and the Toledo clan chief had a feminine face and flickering eyes. As soon as they exchanged a few pleasantries, the No-Fel patriarch accused Karen of expanding his territory, and before he could finish speaking, a large number of ambushes poured out around him, and the battle broke out instantly. Patriarch No-Fel swung his mace at Karen, and the dark forces collided with the vampire's claws to make a screeching sound. The Toledo clan used witchcraft, and black vines wrapped around the descendants of Valeries. Isabella immediately urged the Starfall blood. The golden light swept across the audience, the vines withered, and the light blade accurately defeated many to rid Rs. Seeing this, the Toledo clan leader personally took action, and countless dark shadows approached Isabella. Karen was distracted to protect his wife, but was punched in the chest by No-Feller and staggered back. Isabella's heart tightened, the power of her blood soared. The golden barrier blocked the black shadow, and at the same time, a ray of energy was injected into Karen's body, helping him instantly heal his injuries and greatly increase his strength. Karen turned into dark lightning, and the long sword pierced the heart of the No-Feller patriarch with precision, and the opponent instantly turned to flying ashes. The No-Fellers, who had lost their leader, were in chaos, and the descendants of Valeries took the opportunity to fight back. Seeing that the situation was not good, the Toledo patriarch wanted to escape, but was entangled in golden energy, so he had to kneel down and beg for mercy, promising to return the treasure and bow his head. The betrayal of 300 years ago is by no means offset by surrender. With a wave of Cullen's long sword, he ended the life of Patriarch Toridor. The remaining remnants either surrendered or were destroyed, and after this battle, the position of the Valeries tribe in the Dark World was completely stabilized. On the way back, Isabella leaned against the carriage and looked slightly tired, and Karen stroked her long hair full of distress. After returning to the castle, Karen rewarded the tribe and integrated the tribe, while Isabella used the blood of Starfall to heal the wounded, purify the people eroded by darkness, and make the tribe more gentle and orderly. A few months later, the town of Wayne held a harvest celebration, and Isabella took Karen home. Now that the Dark Knight coexists peacefully with the human world, and the Valeries tribe will help the town resist wild beasts. Mr. White looks at his daughter's happy appearance and completely accepts the vampire's son-in-law. At dusk, the two walked side by side on the wasteland path, and the afterglow of the setting sun stretched each other's figures. There will be no more wars in the future, only stable years. Karen squeezed Isabella's hand in a firm tone. The road to eternal life is long, with lovers staying together and accompanying ethnic groups. The darkness will eventually be dispelled by warmth, and their legends will be passed on forever in time. The rise of the Valeries race eventually touched the interests of other knight races. The Dark Knight world of Western Europe is divided into three major forces. In addition to the Valeries family, there is also the No-Feller race, which is known for its brutality, and the Two-Rid or race, which is good at trickery and calculation. 300 years ago, in the Battle of the Holy Silver, No-Fair and Toledo secretly colluded with the Holy See to divide part of the territory and treasure of the Valeries race. And now, seeing that Cullen is regaining its strength and fearing the power of the Starfall blood, they secretly formed an alliance in an attempt to join forces to strangle the Valeries race in the cradle. Late that night, the guard barrier at Blackwood Castle was suddenly triggered, and Deeble hurriedly broke into the study and knelt down on one knee to report, "Duke, Madam, the people of the No-Feller tribe have attacked our outer stronghold. 3 descendants have been injured, and all the stored animal blood has been destroyed. The other party leaves a mark of provocation that seems to be deliberately provoking us." Karen tapped her fingertips on the table, and a chill surged in her scarlet eyes. No-Feller's fool. He was not beaten 300 years ago, but now he dares to take the initiative to come to the door. He had already expected that other groups would make moves, but he didn't expect the other party to be so impatient. Isabella held his hand and said softly, "I'm afraid they are not simply provoking. Maybe they want to test our strength, especially how strong my Starfall blood is." Karen nodded, acknowledging her judgment. "EBUL, send the order. Strengthen the castle barrier, and send 2 squads to patrol the wasteland stronghold to avoid another sneak attack. Also, to check the movements of the Tordu tribe. I don't believe that Norfeller dares to act alone. After Ebul was ordered to retreat, Karen turned to look at Isabella with a hint of worry in his tone. There may be a series of battles next, and I will arrange for people to protect you personally, and try not to leave the castle. Isabella shook her head, her lake blue eyes full of firmness. I can't hide behind you all the time. Starfall blood not only heals, but also purifies dark powers, and may help you on the battlefield. Moreover, as a duchess, I should also advance and retreat with the tribe. These days, under the guidance of Karen, she has already mastered the power of the bloodline, and she is no longer the small town girl who needed to be protected. 3 days later, the envoy of the Toledo tribe visited and brought an invitation from the patriarch, saying that he wanted to hold tripartite talks in the neutral zone Bloody Wasteland to resolve the conflicts between the tribes. Ebla bluntly said that it was not credible. Duke, Toledo is best at intrigue, and this must be a trap. Karen thought this was an opportunity. Just take this opportunity to find out their trump cards. If you can defeat the soldiers without fighting, it is best. If it is a trap, you will wipe them out and never have future troubles. On the day of the talks, Cullen and Isabella led 10 elite descendants to the Bloody Wasteland. The wind howled on the wasteland. The sand and gravel were all over the sky. The No-Feller Patriarch was a burly vampire with a bloodthirsty aura all over his body. And the 2 Rid or clan chief had a feminine face and flickering eyes, obviously each with their own ghostly intentions. At the beginning of the talks, the No-Fell Patriarch took the blame, accusing Karen of expanding the ethnic territory and threatening the survival of other ethnic groups, and his words were full of provocation. Karen sneered, his tone cold. 300 years ago, when you colluded with the Holy See to divide my clan's territory, why didn't you see such righteous words? Today either return the occupied territory and treasure, or win or lose. As soon as the words fell, a large number of people from Norfelland to Rid or suddenly appeared around the wasteland, obviously already ambushed here. Karen, today's your death. The Norfeller Patriarch Orden rushed towards Karen, the mace in his hand condensed into a rich dark force. Karen met with a long sword in his hand, and the two fought fiercely together. The dark forces colliding with the vampire's claws, making a piercing sound. The 2 Rido or Esper performed tricks, and countless black vines burst out of the ground, entangled the descendants of Valeries and restricted their movements. Seeing this, Isabella immediately urged the Starfall blood, and the star-like mark on her neck emitted a dazzling golden light. Wherever the light passed, the black vines withered, and the entangled descendants were able to escape. She raised her hand and waved her hand, and the golden energy turned into countless blades of light, flying towards the 2 Ridu, hitting multiple enemies with precision. Seeing this, Patriarch Teridu had a hint of fear in his eyes, and immediately took action himself, chanting strange spells in his mouth, and countless dark shadows rushed towards Isabella. Be careful. Karen sensed Isabella's distress and was distracted by the punch of the No-Feller Patriarch in the chest. Staggering back a few steps, seeing that he was injured, Isabella's heart tightened, and the power of the bloodline instantly exploded, and the golden light formed a strong barrier to block the attack of the black shadow. At the same time, a wisp of golden energy was condensed from her fingertips and flew towards Karen. And after the energy entered her body, the injury on Karen's chest healed instantly, and her strength skyrocketed. Karen's eyes were stern, and his figure turned into a dark lightning bolt, which instantly appeared behind the No-Feller Patriarch, and the long sword pierced his heart with precision. Patriarch No-Fell turned his head in disbelief and eventually dissipated into black powder. The No-Fellers, who had lost their leader, were suddenly in disarray, and the descendants of Valeries took the opportunity to fight back, and the tide of the battle was instantly reversed. Seeing that the situation was not good, Patriarch Teridu turned to escape, but was entangled in Isabella's golden energy. Patriarch Teridu, colluding with foreign enemies and murdering your own clan. Do you think you can escape? Isabella approached step by step, and the golden light continued to suppress his tricky power. Patriarch Toledo's face turned pale and he hurriedly begged for mercy. The Duchess, spare my life. I am also coerced by No-Feller. I am willing to return all the treasures and submit to the Valeries clan from now on. Karen walked up to him and looked at him with cold eyes. The debt of 300 years ago cannot be offset by a single word of surrender. With a wave of the long sword, Patriarch Tiridor's head fell to the ground. After eliminating the leaders of the two major tribes, the remaining tribesmen will either surrender or be completely annihilated. After this battle, the position of the Valeries tribe in the Dark Knight world was completely stable, and no race dared to provoke easily. On the way back, Isabella leans on Cullen's carriage, slightly tired. Karen gently stroked her long hair, her tone full of distress. "Thank you for your hard work." Isabella shook her head and said with a smile, "It's not hard at all to be able to protect the tribe with you." The moonlight shone on the two of them, outlining a warm outline, and after the baptism of war, their bond became deeper. Upon returning to Blackwood Castle, Cullen rewarded the wounded descendants with a reward for their merits, and at the same time accepted the surrendered Nofeller into Ritter tribes, reuniting the order of the Night World. Isabella healed all the wounded people with Starfall blood, and even helped the vampires who were deeply eroded by the dark forces to purify their blood, making them gentler and less bloodthirsty easily. A few months later, a harvest celebration was held in the town of Wayne, and Isabella took Karen back to town to celebrate with her father in the town's residence. Today's Dark Knight world and the human world coexist peacefully, and the Valeries tribe not only guards their territory, but also helps the town when it is attacked by wild beasts, becoming the guardian in the hearts of the town's residents. At the celebration, Mr. White looked at his daughter and Karen smiling at each other, and his eyes were full of relief. At dusk, Karen and Isabella walked side by side on the path of the moor, their figures stretched long by the afterglow of the setting sun. "There will be no more wars in the future," Isabella said softly. Karen squeezed her hand and said in a firm tone, "Well, in the future, we will only have each other, a race, and a stable year. The time of eternal life is still long, but with lovers and races, darkness is no longer terrible." Karen and Isabella used love and courage to break the racial barrier, resolve a century of hatred, and open up a world of their own at the junction of dark night and light, and their love and legend will be passed down forever in the years of eternity.